where if I can just again sort of give you a quick prasanga, a kind of connectivity with what we have done so far. In chapter 9, Bhagavan is not going to tell us something terribly new. He's going to summarize and revise what he has already explained to us in the last three chapters. But you can also say that all nine chapters before, because he's now talking about his own greatness, so that we understand what is that Bhagavad Padartha, what is that divinity that we are all aspiring to connect with. And he's going to again tell it to us in very with a bit of hand holding in very simplistic language, so that it becomes clearer, because he has used a lot of abstract concepts in the last three chapters. So out of compassion, he's trying to be simple, and he mentions in this particular thing that, oh, my boy, I'm going to tell you again, because even the gods and the saints, the monks, they fail to understand me, because I exist before they came into existence, number one. Number two, only those whom I grant this opportunity can know me, and you are one of them. I'm granting you the opportunity. Why? Because I see there is a lot of love and affection in you. You have Shraddha, and you have a lot of aspiration, but also internal purity. You deserve to know. So you're kind of nominated, you're selected. And that's very, it's a key thought in most of the religions. Even if you look at Christianity, they say only the elect can know who is Jesus. Same also in Islam, also in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavan is kind of looking at the adhikara, your eligibility. And he's saying the people who know me as Aja and Anadi, without a birth and prior to everything, Loka Maheshwaram, Asamudha, they are the ones who can have correct understanding. They shall not be deluded. They are free from any faulty understanding of reality, which then can trap them in a wrong process of connectivity with the divine, which happens with all of us in our everyday lives. Somebody says this is what is divine, this is what is spiritual, and there's so many gurus, so many books, so many schools of thought. So Bhagavan is clearly coming up and saying that if you want to be free from all past sanskaras, all papas, if you want to be free, then you know that there is a certain technique to understand who am I. First, he has already mentioned his para prakriti and apara prakriti. His apara prakriti is the panchabhutas and the astadha, all those mana buddhi ahankar plus all the five bhutas, out of which this material universe has manifested, expanded, expressed itself, has become explicit. And then the para prakriti, the chaitanya swarupa, the mula prakriti that he talks about, out of which this whole chaitanya thing. Jada and Chetana, both he has explained earlier, and then he has also mentioned about several other things. What is Adideva, what is Adhyatmya, what is Adhijagya, Adhibhuta, all that he has explained, and he is saying that I am everywhere, and you meditate like that in the previous chapter that we finished in chapter 9. Now he's trying to say that look at different modifications of the human consciousness and see that they cannot manifest themselves, they cannot emerge in your mind without having passed through me. Why is he saying this? Whether papa or punya is a result of our own past desires and sanskaras and attachments and aversions. But because we are kind of all willy-nilly connected to that ultimate reality called Brahman, to the supercomputer, everything gets processed that is coming back to us. The diversity is explained in light of the papa punyas, the karma, dharma, good things and bad things that we have done in the past, and our aspirations. That is what explains the diversity of the world. But at the same time, this is not chaotic, there is an order. There is diversity with some order. Who ensures this coexistence of diversity with order? Bhagavan explained in the verse number 4 and 5. It's me who is ensuring that order and diversity coexisting at the same time. How does that happen? Bhagavan says, Buddhir Jnanam asamoha Shama Satyam Dama Shama Sukham Dukkham Bhavo Bhavo Bhayam Cha Abhayam Evacha Ahimsa Samata Tustistapodanam Yaso Yasaha Bhavanti Bhava Bhutanam Matta Eva They all manifest in different ways. All these things, whether it's intelligence, whether it is knowledge, which is atmagyana, asamoha, freedom from faulty understanding, chama, tolerance, satyam. But remember, satyam is always whatever is causing kalyanakari satya. Of course, to explain another, you are telling the truth, what you have seen or studied in a book, but remember that should be mangalakari, that we discussed that. And damaha is indriya nigraha, controlling the external senses. Samaha is controlling the internal senses, which is the manas. And then sukham is whatever is, anukula vritti. You're not feeling any discomfort, but then you feel discomfort initially with regard to what you're experiencing, that becomes dukha. And samata is equanimity, ahimsa, non-violence, tushtihi, contentment, and tapas. Tapas, again, there was a discussion, sarira soshanam and kaya, Pidanam, Atma Pidanam. Here the Atma is body and mind, but here not for the fun of it. Then you will become a magicist. No. It is about Sastriya Upayena. That is a qualifier there. Whatever is prescribed in the Shastras, you cannot torture your body just for the fun of it. There should be a higher purpose, and there should be some proof as to why you should do it. Some guru comes and tells you, you have to serve and play, press my leg for 2000 days. Then what? Then you will get liberation. Don't undertake that sort of thing. You need to figure out where it is written, why he's telling you to do that. So it's not be just self-torture for a fun of it. Then that is a psychological disorder, and there is counseling for that. If you're hurting yourself unnecessarily, no. Here it is sankochana. Whatever bodily pleasures you want to have, you want to reduce it so that the mind is fresh. I was reading a beautiful book later on. If you have time, we can do it. It's called Tripura Rahasya. It's a Vedantic text, but also a mixture of, Upasana of the Tripura Sundari. So there's a beautiful sentence. He's saying the mind all the time polluted. How do we deal with it? He's saying this manas, that is panka, the muddiness of the mind, can be cleaned with only one kind of water. What is that? Yeah, what is that water? That liquid with which you have to clean the mind, it's called nirodha, mana nirodha. That is the only way you have to clean it. That's what all the Buddhists say. You have to free your mind. They call it dusting the mind. You just free your mind of the old impressions by just being blank. Sometimes we are afraid that my mind has become blank, but that is a different state. That is a state of being fatigued, where your mind is not responding, even if you have things to do. But I'm talking about a state where unnecessary intrusive thoughts who are forcing their way into our brains are removed. That is what he's mentioning here, tapaha. So in that way, there are certain techniques of disciplining the mind, freeing it from internal and external perturbations. And dhanam, charity, that has also a cleansing impact. And yaso, yasaha. So it can be good name or bad name depending on what you're doing. Bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva prithagvita. And all these things that we read right now, they happen in different animals and human beings. Prithagvida, they appear to be all different. But please understand, these manifestations are coming as a result of the karmas of those different people. But end of the day, these are all processed by me. There is no injustice as to how that sort of happens. Okay, that is what we had done. And we had done a lot of commentaries. And then he's mentioned that Maharshaya Sapta Purve Chatvara Manavastatha Madhabhava Manasa Jata Yesam Loka Imaha Prajaha. And these Maharshis, all the great saints, okay, these people also sort of, and Purve Chatvara Manavastatha, the Manus, okay, and a Madhbhava. They are also created by me, but I have not fathered them because I'm married to somebody out of which they are born. Nor is it like they are test tube babies. No, it's not that what they call IVF or something. I don't know what is it, but there's a process, and through which they are sort of born through fertilization through a medical process. Here he's saying manasa yata. Jata, how? Just sankalpa matrena. I wish they come, and I don't wish for the fun of it, because of again their own karmas. They have purified themselves. They have gone to a level that now they are being reborn as maharshis or devatas or manus. Yesam loka imaha prajaha. And then that you see all this. These are the spheres of existence of different lokas. they have also come out of me, and that is what we were stuck, and we will do their the Madhusudan. I think we haven't done the details of it. I had just done shortly. We will look at it. Maharshaya Veda Tadartha Drashtaraha. Who is a Maharshi? These Rishayaha Mantra Drashtaraha. So these Veda mantras that we are reading in the Sahitas, or even the Brahmanas and all, it's always believed in traditional parlance that these are not Paurusheya. They are not written by human beings. They are authorless texts. Okay, there's no human being, so they are free from human errors because they are not written by us. Then somebody will say, but there is enough evidence that there is a Kanwa Sakha, there is a Madhyandina Sakha, so these gurus have also written there. So why do you say that the Kanwa Rishi has written that? Yes, they have written, they have compiled them, and they have seen these mantras which existed prior to their being born with human bodies. Therefore, Veda is apurusheya. And if you did Mimamsa Darsana, they will say that if there is a particular ucharana of a mantra which is purva ucharana anapeksha, then that is Paurusheya. For example, you are writing a novel. In that novel, you have certain characters and stories. That story is not dependent on anything which is written before. So Purva Ucharana Anapeksha. That is independent. That's how it's Paurusha. If it's Purva Ucharana Sapeksha, there is a particular way it has been chanted before a, and you are again doing it the way it has been done, then that is what? Purva Sapeksha, Purva Ucharana Sapeksha. And therefore, that is what is called, that is what is explained is sapeksha. So whatever is a repetition of the past, and the past cannot be traced because everything is anadi here, that becomes apaurushaya. That is not purusha krita. It is independent of authorship by any human being. Therefore, he's saying Maharshaya. Who is that Maharshi? Veda tadartha drashtaraha. What is Veda? Whatever you read in the Vedic texts, what is their artha? There is some mention of some karma. So, like so for example, like Sorga Kama Yajeta, there is a particular sentence that if you have to do some yaga to go to Swarga, just imagine these two words, even they are mentioned. Okay, so if that statement is mentioned that we have to do this, what is the proof? Where you got it? It is that artha, how that yaga will be done, why it has to be done. All that is traced to Veda. That is the artha of that particular thing. So tadartha drashtaraha, they see that thing, that if you do this, you will be able to go to Swarga. They see that and they just note it down. So the Veda tadartha drashtaraha. Sarvagya, and they know everything. Why they are Sarvagya? Not in the sense that they are Sarvagya like God. No, they are a Sarvagya in a parimita sense, in a limited sense. They are greater, their, their knowledge base is much greater compared to ours, but then they are also not all the time dependent on pratyaksha or anumana. They can see things without having to do scientific inference or having to see something with their jnani indriyas. They have certain powers, yogic perception powers. That is why they mention sarvagyaha. Vidya Sampradaya Pravartakaha. And then that Upasana, Vidya here, different Upasana Sampradayas, like for example, Omkar Upasana or Sambarga Upasana, Ahang Upasana. There are Aditya Upasana, Prana Upasana. There are some 32 Upasanas or Vidyas in the Upanishads. So he's mentioned Vidya Parampara Pravartakaha Bhuga Bhrugvadyaha, Bhrugu Adyaha. Bhrugu is a great Maharshi. Bhagwan says, among the Maharshis, I am Bhrigu. And he wrote the Bhrigu Samhita. He was a cosmologist. Sapta Purve, there is seven great Maharshis. Sargadya Kala Abir Bhutaha. So these seven great Maharshis sort of appeared when the creative process started. At the beginning of this Srishti, they appeared, created by God directly. Tathacha Puranam is quoting from Mahabharata here. And Yeah, there are different sources, but I think this one is from Mahabharata, and this is Santi Parva 208.5. From here he's quoting Bhrugam Marichimatrim cha Pulastyam Pulaham Kratum Vasishtam Tamaha Tejaha So Sujan Manasa Sutan Sapta Brahmana Ityete Purani Nishchayam Gataha. So these are the, so who are these? They are Mahatejasvi. And who are these? And who created them? The Sutratma, the first, the Hiranyagarbha created. And who are they? So they are Vrigu, Marichi, Atri, Pulastya, Pulaha, Kratu, Vasishta. And these are great, great rishis. Okay? And these are the seven. And these are the what do you call it? Manasa Putra. So they were created out of wish. Okay, they were not physically born to Prajapati. They are just born out of his wish, Sankalpa Sakti. And Nishchay kiya gaya, that is what is Purane Nishchayam Gataha. That is what has been written in the Puranas, that these seven rishis were created by Prajapati when he wanted to do, because he wanted some guys to help him in this whole process, give some jnana and pass it on to the next generation. Okay, so Maharsaya Sapta Purve. Then he will talk about Chatvara Manavastatha. What are these four kinds of manus? Manava, Manu, Manava. Tatha Chatvara Manavaha Savarna iti prasiddhaha. So there are four kind of uh, you know uh, these manus. Okay, and who are these manus? Four manus are Athava Maharshaya Sapta Bhrug Bhrugu Adyaha Tebhye Api Purve Prathamaha Chatvaraha Sanakadyaha Maharshaya. Or you can interpret that first the four Maharshis came: Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatana, Sanat Kumara. These four first came. Then the four Sapta Maharshis came, whichever way you want to interpret. Manavahas tatha Swayam Bhuvadi Chaturdasa Mai Parameshware Bhava Bhavanam Yesamte Madhabhava Mat Chintana Para Madhabhavana Vasad Avirvita Madhya Jnaneshwarya Sakteyaha Ityatha. So they are created out of my mental reflection. There is a Vaya media called Prajapati. They are all created. And these there are these four manus which we were discussing, and these four manus are sort of there are 12 manus. The one is Savarni, Manur also Maitreya Bhavita Tataha Navamo Daksha Savarnihi Maitreya Savita Bhavita Manuhu Ekadasasya Bhavita Dharma Savarniku Manahu Rudra Putrastu Savarno Savarnaha Bhavita Dvadaso Manuhu. So he's saying, you see, there are four kind of manus: Savarni, Daksha Savarni, Dharma Savarni, and Rudra Savarni. So in Chandi Purana, you'll say that Savarni Manu, and so this they were these wife's name was Savarna, and because they are kind of born from that, therefore they call Savarna, born out of Savarna. And these there are four types: Savarni, Daksha Savarni, Dharma Savarni, and Rudra Savarni. That is mentioned in Vishnu Purana. Vishnu Purana is Smriti, is not Shruti as such. And then he is talking about, then there are Saptarishis also of the types that we do Tarpana: Sanaka, Sananda, Sanatan, Sanandana, and Acharya, Bodhu, Panchashikha, Asuri. These are also some rishis, right? They are, most of them are great Sankhya philosophers. Here the Chaturdasa Manu are like this: Swayambhuva, Swarachisa, Uttama, Tamasa, Raivata, Chakshusa, Vaivaswata, Savanni, Daksha Savanni, Brahma Savanni, Dharma Savanni, Rudra Savanni, Deva Savanni, Indra Savanni. So this is in Bhagavata Purana 8:13 that is mentioned. I'm just quoting from a source which is given in the Tikas here. Okay, there's nothing. I mean, you can just find out also in Google. Nothing great, but if you are interested in these things, you can always note them down. Now, Chatvara Manamaha Katha Maharseha Sapta Bhrugu Adyaha Tebhyo Api Purve. Prathamaha Chatwaraha Sanakadyaha Mahashayaha. So even before the Bhrugwadi Rishis 7, before that, some Puranas mentioned that there were four great rishis were there, and their names is Sanaka, Sanandana, Sanatan, and Sananda Kumara. Manava Tatha Swayam Bhuvadi Chaturdasa Mai Parameshware Bhavo. So all these 14 Manus, Bhavana Yesamte Mad Bhava, they're all the time thinking about it. What are they doing? Mat Chintana Para, they're meditating on it. Mad Bhavana Basad is a result of meditating on me. Avirbhuta Madhya Jnaneshwarya Sakteha. So they have this Jnana and Aishwarya Sakti of me because through this, this meditation, that process of thinking, they have kind of come into existence. Manasa Manasaha Sankalpad Eva Utpannaha Natu Yonijaha. They are not born out of any mother. They are born out of the sheer Sankalpa, Icha, that particular Bhagavan wanted to create them. So he wished and they happened. No need any mother. Okay, here because we are not talking about animals or human beings. Ataha Visuddha Janamatvena. Their birth is free from the pangs of childbirth, like you are in the uterus and then there is some pain, is umbilical cord, whatever the mother eats, you will get it. So mother eats some very spicy food. Is the baby very happy inside? No. If the mother is eating some very tasty, good spiritual food, the baby is very happy. So maybe some fruits and milk and chocolates, maybe the baby is pretty happy. But imagine the mother eats a lot of fast food, a lot of spicy food. It hurts the child, and the mother remains hungry. That also hurts the child. So here, Visuddha Janamatvena Sarva Prani Shrestha. They are superior among all the living beings. Matta Eva Hiranya Garbhatmano Jataha. So they are created out of me, not as me, Parameshwara, haven't created them. They have been created through what? They have been created from, Bhagavan clarifies there, from Hiranyagarbha. Hiranyagarbha is basically coming out of Ishvara, and Ishvara is coming out of this Brahma, with Upadhi becomes Ishvara, and therefore Hiranyagarbha is also creation of God. So then Ataha and then Jataha Sargadi Kale, Sargadya Kale Pradurhuta. So they were early creation. Yesa Maharshinam Saptanam Bhruguadinam Chaturnam Cha Sanakadinam Manunam Cha Chaturdasanam Asmin Loke Janmana Cha Vidya Cha Santati Bhuta Imah Brahmanadyaha Sarvaha Prajaha. So he's saying, if you look at all these human races, because he's talking about a Varnashram system, he's saying Brahmanadyaha, that he is mentioning. He's saying that whatever people you see, they have come out of whom? I created this Manus. That is why we are called Manava. We have come out of Manu only. Okay. So these are theological imaginations as to how the human race came into being. You don't have to break your head on that, whether scientifically you can defend it. I would say that the symbolism is more important than the reality of the stories, because we are trying to have some understanding, as per Vedanta thing, that the story is not true. The symbolism which represents the stories, represented by the stories, is more powerful because that gives us a key to unravel the mystery, reject all the stories, and go beyond the stories to reach the ultimate foundational truth called Brahman, Satchidananda Swarupa. All these are fine. These are all fine. It's like you want to go to buy a book and you're going to a book exhibition. It's an international book fair. It happens in Pragati Maidan in Delhi. So you want to buy certain books, Sanskrit books or philosophy books, whatever. So you have a lot of this competition material, school kids and food plazas. These are distractions. You are still looking for that particular counter where you will go, where maybe not many people are there because you are looking for a rare book, and there is a very unknown publication house where you find that book. Otherwise, you are lost. Similarly, the story creation, the creation stories are many, but the truth is just behind these many stories, which is about Bhagavan Satchidananda Swarupa. So Bhagavan is kindly reminding us that look at the whole stories, but don't forget me, because they have all come out of me. At the background of all that you see and relish and you are wondering about is me, who is standing just behind all that you relish. It's me, the director, who is not recognized because he doesn't come into the film. You see the stars and starlets, all characters. The director is not visible, but he is actually making the movie. look like or give you certain feelings as you do experience while watching it. Who is the magician behind it? Is the director or the writer of that story. So he doesn't come. He gets a byline in the end. Sometimes people don't even remember it. Okay? And then he goes to the verse number 7. Evam sopadhikasya bhagavatah prabhavam uktva tad jnana phalam aha. So, you know, this is a particular standard line that without prayojana, without a necessity, nobody is interested to do anything or learn anything. Mandopina pravartate. Even a very dull person will not take interest just because you say, please listen to the story. No. So Bhagavan has to tell us why is he telling all this. So Bhagavan says, look here, if you understand that all these mental frames which are coming to you is essentially coming through me, they are all my creations. And remember this, I am not creating them for fun. These vividhata, the diversity, is an outcome of the diversity of the dharma in different jivas. I am like a central person who gets the credit for doing everything, for just witnessing it, for just being a standard truth principle in all of it. But I specifically don't create anything. Okay, so Bhagavan is actually a sadharana karana. It's for God's wish is a sadharana karana in Nyaya Darshana, not asadharana karana. Asadharana karana has to be, like samavaya, asamaya, or nimitta karana, which is the material cause. You want to have a pot. So there is a kapala, this one half and the other half, you join them. That is the asamavaya karana. And then nimitta karana, the potter who is doing it, who is the nimitta karana, who will do that sometime. So in the next verse, he's saying, Etam vibhuti yogam cha mama yo veti tat tatvaha so so bikampena yogena yujyate natta sangsayah. Etam vibhutim. What is vibhuti? Is a beautiful word, isn't it? Babhut, that ash that we are referring to. No, what is it talking here is something different. Esham etam vibhutim. These manifest, diversely manifest realities. You see these diversities, diverse realities. The bhuta is coming out of bhutis. Whatever is happening, these happenings. Be upasarga, vividha bhuti. So in a way, you are talking about diverse realities that have become explicit, that have manifested. Yogam cha. What is that yoga thing again is coming? Yoga is created, is mentioned here to talk about that magic of creation, how that happens. That is the yoga sakti of Bhagavan. And we will do that. We will do that how he explains it. Anandagiri does a good job. So mama yo vikti, the one, this yoga and vibhuti. It's my grace, multiple things are appearing. It's very contradictory how I can create such millions and millions of human beings with million natures, million looks. No two people are equal. How can I do it? That is the yogic power, isn't it? So this vibhuti and yoga, both those who know how, tattvataha, don't consider all these appearances to be real. Tattvataha know that they are appearing out of me. I am the fundamental primary cause, and I do not have any favorites or enemies. I'm not happy or sad with anything that I'm creating. Udasina vadasina. I'm not involved with anything that is happening. If you know that, the one who knows it in such a way, what is his benefit? So avikampena, without any distraction or perturbation or any disturbance in his mind, yogena, by meditating on me, yujyate natra sansayah. He connects with me. He's able to do yoga. He's able to reach that level of meditative equanimity. That means he's free from oscillations of the mind which pull us in different directions, sometimes up, sometimes down, sometimes market wise, sometimes towards the temple or the church or the mosque, creating conflicts, attractions, all that happen to us. Those oscillations and those distractions, those things will not trouble you. That is what it says. Okay. So let's look at what sort of Madhusudana Saraswati says, and we'll come back. So verse number 6 we had finished. So therefore verse number 6 I'm not going again. We have already done it. And verse number 7 we are doing. Eta etam yathoktam vibhutim vistaram yogam cha yuktim cha atmanaha ghatanam. All this that I mentioned, this kshama, satya, ahisha, all that I mentioned, yathokta, whatever I have mentioned, these vibhutim, these manifestations, whatever has been born out of my grace, vistaram yogam cha, these expansions, and how they happen, that yoga, yuktim cha, yoga means how they happen, this yukti, the connectivity, how they are kind of held together, atmanaha ghatana. They have all happened out of this Atma Tattva. Athava Yogeishwarya Samarthyam Sarvagyatvam Yogajam Yogaha Uchyate. What is that yoga? What is that my yoga? Bhagavan explains that Yogeishwarya Samarthyam, that Aishwarya Samartham, that energy, that depth of energy, that vast infinite energy I have, that capacity I have to create so many multifarious manifestations of one thing which is me. Nehana Nastikastana. There are not too many things, but just one became many. And in so many ways, you might wonder, and therefore he's saying that is my yoga sakti. Sarvagyatum yogajam yogaha. And that ability to know everything. If I'm creating everything, I know everything. And so this all-knowing nature of mind and yogajam yogaha uchyate. Mama madhyam yogam yaha vetti tattvataha. Those who know this ability of mind to manifest, their ability to know this, mama madhyam yogam yaha vetti. Those who know. Two words, please remember, vibhuti and yoga. Vibhuti is this multiple realities which come out of God's wish. That is the vibhuti. Okay, we'll look at Anandagiri where he expands it a little in a beautiful way. That means multiple happenings, ghatanam. And then yoga aisharyam, that samarthyam, that how can one person can create everything out of him. Like a cook who can cook 20,000 dishes without any material, without a kitchen. He's serving all that. Is it possible? He's saying sarvagyatum yogajam yoga uchyate mama madhyam yoga ya vetti. So you don't have to get into the details. Know it tattvataha. Tattvena yathavat iti etat. So yathavat, what is that tattva? That this Brahman thing has manifested it many. As per Shastra explanations, look at it. Yaha abhikampena aprachalitena. So you're not being pulled asunder. You're not being distracted by too many things. No kampana. Yogena samyak darsanaha samyak darsanaha stairya lakshanena. So you have that quietitude, not only equanimity, but also quietitude. You have a peaceful, settled mind to be able to meditate on me and with a sense of equal vision, not getting disturbed by these contradictory realities which appear and disappear before you. Yujyate sambandhyate with me, you connect with me. Na atra sansayah, na asmin arthe sansayah asti. There is no doubt whatsoever here. Then kidrishena abhikampena yogena yujyate iti uchyate. That he will explain in the verse, next verse. How do people actually connect with me without any disturbance? Okay. Now directly I'm going to Anandagiri because he expands Sankara's very crisp yet too cryptic explanation. He brings in some good explanations. So I'm just going there. Anandagiri is a tika on a Sankara Bhashya. So there's a lot of discussions as to where he may have belonged. Some people say he's a South Indian, but he keeps referring to Purushottama. So some people say that he may have been a saint who lived somewhere near Jagannath Puri for a while. Um, Given his knowledge of Nyaya, he could be also South Bengal. One doesn't know. Sopadhikam prabhavam bhagavato darsayitva. That sopadhika, Bhagavan he just mentioned right now, all these things, right? What was he mentioning? These two shlokas he mentioned, right? Buddhir jnana asamoha kshama satyam dhamma sama. These sopadhika prabhavam, these are the influences of God. Darsayitva tad jnana phalamaha. If you know all these manifestations is coming out of God, how do you benefit? He's saying etamiti buddhyadi upadanatvena vividha bhutir bhavanam This is what is vibhuti. Buddhyadi upadanettvena. So God uses his sankalpa sakti. And how do we understand this sansara came into being? That ashtada apara prakriti. What is that? Mana buddhi ahankara, right? Mahat, that buddhi thing comes first. Then ahankara. That is what we have studied, right? That is how it happens. So in buddhyadi, starting with buddhi, with mahat and sankhya, upadanatvena, because Bhagavan, though Vedanta says abhinna upadana, abhinna nimitta upadana karana, we know that Brahman is avikari. So what is upadana, the maya, prakriti and sankhya? Vedanta also accepts. Only difference is the prakriti is Ishvara adhina in Vedanta and prakriti is independent, swadhina in Sankhya or Tantra. That is the basic difference. Okay? So Sankhya Tantra, Prakriti is independent. Here, Prakriti is Purushadhina. Purusha is not human being, not a man. It is Parameshwara Adhina. That is saying. So the Prakriti and Purusha, that Purusha consciousness, the Prakriti is actually controlled by consciousness here in Vedanta. Very minor difference. And Purushas are many there. For us, Purusha is one. But later Sankhya also Purusha is one. So the Sankhya and the Vedanta sort of come very close to each other. So he says buddhyadi upadanatvena vividha bhutihi bhavanam vaibhavam sarvatmatvam tadaha vistaram iti. Therefore, he is talking about this Brahman is becoming sarvatmaka. He creates these vibhutis, these bhavanam, these creations, vistaram, these expansions, manifestations. Ishwarasya tat tad artha sampadana samarthyam yogaha tad aha. What is this yoga? Tat tad artha sampadana samarthyam. So there is dharma dharma. Depending on this dharma dharmas, different forms will appear. Okay. So, like for example, you have made some milk and you kept it outside. Another fellow had a glass of milk, he kept it in the refrigerator. It's a summer day, both of you go to sleep. What happens to the first guy? The milk has split by morning. Okay. And so it has become curd or it is in a terrible state, you have to throw it. The other guy, he has kept it in the fridge, he'll take it out and then he mixes some chocolate and some cream and sugar in it. He has a wonderful drink. Same person. So two different forms by morning. Because of one fellow was absent-minded, the other one kept that milk in the fridge in time. So he benefits. Similarly, because of our own dharma, a lot of things happen to us. And he's saying, tat tad artha sampadana samarthyam ishwarasya. So different kinds of things. And Bhagavan, without any klesa, without any chesta, sankalpa matrena, sarvajnatvena, he creates, he manages. But he's not doing anything. He says udasina vadasina. So I am not at all bound by any karmas because I'm not doing anything. Why? Because he's satta swarupa, he's universal witness. Yoga tat phalam aishwaryam. Now this yoga sakti is maya sakti is hinting, and then tad aishwaryam. That that particular thing, that power of magic of creation. Sarvagyatvam, Sarvaswaritvam, Sarveshwaratvam cha madhyam Sakti Jnana Lesam Astritya. Sakti Jnana Lesam. This infinite Sakti and Jnana Bhagavan has. Astritya Manvadaya Bhrugvadayascha Isate Janate cha Tadaha Athava Iti. So, all these Bhrugus and these Maharshis and the Manus and all creations that are mentioned, Bhagavan has very clearly mentioned that I am not physically given any creation to them. They are born out of my Sankalpa Sakti, just out of my wish. And that is my Yoga Sakti that is saying, Tathato Vivati Yoga. So this Vibhuti and Yoga, this Bhavanam, this whole manifestations, and the magical power God has to be able to create that Tatha Vedanasya Nirankusatvam Darsayati Yathavadeti. Now, if you know that Bhagavan has created it, but you have some doubt, then nothing can happen. And then there is this book I was reading that this very clearly it mentions that a lot of people uh, actually master the Vedanta or Tantra or everything, but you don't believe, you don't have any interest in it, so it doesn't help you at all, isn't it? It's like we know a lot about cricket, you're watching out, or you now this Olympics is going on, so you read a lot about hockey or gymnastics, but that doesn't take away your fat because you are not going to the gym, you are not stretching yourself. So end of the day, what he's saying, nirankusa, there is no ankusa of doubt or mithya jnana, anything. Sansaya or viparita jnana, they are not coming here. and Jathavat. So you know it exactly as it is. Sopadhika Jnanam Nirupadhika Jnane Dwaramityaha. So you see, this is another important thing that you have mentioned, that Anandagiri sort of brings in a very hidden Vedantic wisdom to his commentary, like Madhusudana brings a bit of bhakti orientation, but Anandagiri brings in deep realization of Vedantic analysis. And he's saying exactly what Madhusudan and Shankaracharya have said, but in a very simple way to make it clearer to us. Nirupathika Jnana, Brahman, we is Brahman, all of us are Brahman. I'm mentioning. Can I be really sure that I have realized it? No. So he's saying you have to have adhyaropa and apavada. And therefore, in the Upanishads, first Bhagavan or Param Brahman is saying you do prana upasana, you do dahara upasana, you do udgita upasana, omkara upasana, ahang upasana. So all these are mentioned, ahangraha upasana, samvarga vidya, all these are mentioned. Why? For antakarna suddhi. So first you have to have a long process of dhyana, Sravana, Manana, Nididhyasana, Nishkama Karma, Ishwarapana Buddhi. A lot of upasanas are there. Jumping directly without the warming up exercises. As I was telling earlier, that even those who are doing playing cricket or badminton, they also do a lot of gymming. Why? The body has to affect. Then only your reflexes will be electric. You can win. Otherwise, no. Even mind has to be trained to respond to a very stressful situation in the games, isn't it? So Bhagavan says, beautiful line here. Sopadikam jnanam. You have to know God with names and forms. And this was a question I think long back. Sanadji was asking. So what do I do? I'm a worshipper of Lord Krishna or Vishnu. Should I drop it? This Vedanta is saying that these are names and forms. No, you don't have to. It's saying Sopadhikam Jnanam Nirupadhika Jnane Dwaram, to be able to reach that level where everything becomes Vasudevam Sarvamiti. That doesn't happen without a long tail of sadhana. There is a trail. You have to do that trekking. Then you reach that temple. So you'll pass through different, mountain ranges to be able to reach that, pinnacle of your journey. And then you have Badrinath or Kedarnath. Similarly, Bhagavan is saying that Nirupadhika Jnana is the ultimate thing. But to reach there, you need Sopadhika Jnana. So knowing Bhagavan with name and form and having Upasana, doing yoga and sadhana, they're all relevant. He's saying Nirupadhika Jnane Sopadhika Jnanam Dwaram Ityaha. So, abhikampena, why does he have to value this silence of mind or quietude of mind or equal vision? Because he just is interested in the philosophical analysis of what is Atma. Acha, acha, ye Vedant keh raha hai, and he's happy, and then he will get liberated. Then Anandagiri says, no, it's not so easy. You have to have a quiet mind, free from distractions, free from disturbances. Okay, if you can reach there, then reading of Vedanta, this thing will sip in. I sometimes think it's a little like filter coffee if you are making it at home. It takes a whole night to collect best filter coffee, isn't it? You put it there and heat hot water, a lot of filter coffee, fill it, and go to sleep. Early morning, you find okay, half a cup of you know beautiful dark filter coffee is there. Then you can mix it with the hot milk and sugar, whatever, depending on your taste, and you will enjoy it. But it takes a whole lot of time for that to be possible. And you can. It's not like tea that you can make it and have it. It takes a lot of time. So this Vedanta sadhana is exactly like having filter coffee. It takes a long time. Okay. So you need a quiet, undisturbed mind, able to focus its attention. Sama, dama, all these things are required. Uktarthe pratibandha abhavam aha. And therefore, you need to have pratibandha abhava. Obstructions have to be removed. Then only so bikampana yogena yujyetre na atyanta. So kidrisena, and therefore he's saying na atra sansaya na asmin arthe sansaya asti. So therefore, these pratibandhas, the roadblocks are removed by knowing who am I. That is what he's saying. And by knowing me in that Sopadhika Rupa that I have created in this creation theory, that I am this origin of everything, it will become easier for you to then realize that Srishti also is false. First, you accept it. You accept everything, understand it, what is Paraprakriti, what is Aparaprakriti. Then I will tell you the Mahan secret, as I mentioned in chapter 9. I'm going to tell you again and again. I'll do that in chapter 12 a little. I'll come again in chapter 13, and then I will sort of expand your understanding. And then Bhagavad Gita is done. I'll say, okay, read Upanishads and do the Brahma Sutras. That is how Bhagavan is mentioning. And then there are other people who are also, there is Mad Vibhuti Vishayam, what Ramanuja says, couple of beautiful things. Kalyana Guna Visham Jnanam Bhakti Yoga Vardhanamiti. So you know these Vibhutis. How does it help? Because he's a great Vaishnava. He says, this Kalyana Guna Vishayam, this is going to help you. This is very auspicious for you because this will create a Bhakti Yoga Vardhanam. It will expand your ability to be a great devotee of Lord Krishna. How does it help? Yeah, so Upadhika Jnana. And that is Dwara of Nirupadhika Jnana. So to reach Param Brahman, you have to start with name and form, not a problem. Okay, Drakshasi iti abhipraya. Vibhuti Jnana Vipaka Rupam Bhakti Vriddhim. So this Vibhuti Jnana, knowing my magical powers and how they manifest, Vipaka, when that matures, that becomes Suddha Bhakti. That becomes devotion. It's like, just I'm giving a Laukika example that you come across a person, you go to a new company and there's a person who is very quiet, doesn't talk to anyone. You think he's quite an antisocial person. He didn't wish back at you. And then after some time, what happened? Somebody tells, do you know who is he? Who is he? He comes from a very poor background and this and that. He took care of his siblings, or somebody says that he did a lot of things for his villagers. He runs an orphanage or contributes to certain things, and he helped this and that, and he's so courteous to women. Then you have a different story. The next time you see him, before he wishes you, you wish him and you just want to be a little more friendly, because you think knowing such a good person will purify you. So Bhagavan Leela Kathana and Shravana, that will come also later on, sort of fills our life with the bhakti, prepares the ground for bhakti. Okay? So this is how it is. And looking at Madhusudana Saraswati, is it saying anything? This Okay, एवं सोपाधिकस्य भगवतः प्रभावम् उक्त्वा तद्ज्ञानफलमाह एतां प्रागुक्तां बुद्ध्यादि महर्ष्यादिरूपां विभूतिं विविधभावम्. That is vibhuti, vividha tad rupena avasthitim. That particular, the way it is manifesting there, that is the yoga. Tat tad artha nirmana samarthyam. So whatever is depending on their dharma, it manifests like that. Parameshwaryam iti yavat mama yo vitti tatvatah yathavat. So abhikampena aprachalitena yogena samyak jnana harya lakshanena samadhina yujyate. Yujyate means actually he is able to do yoga, so he is able to do that Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Na atra sansya pratibandha kaschi. That is what is nothing greater than that. And let's look at the verse number 8, he's saying. Now, Kidrishya, how to meditate on me, he's saying. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattah sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samannitaha. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. So, I'm the cause of everything's creation. Matta sarvam pravartate. Out of me, everything becomes pravartamana. It's created and then it moves, isn't it? So it's like satta, and then it has to have some kriya, right? And pravartate. Iti matva bhajante mam. So, having understood this, by knowing this, my dear devotees meditate on me, because they know that their very existence they owe to me. Buddha, Mam Bhava Samannitaha. And there they are sort of immersed in thinking about me and they meditate on me. Aham Parabrahma Vasudevakhyam Sarvasya Jagataha Prabhavaha. So I am Bhagavan Vasudeva. My name is Vasudeva. In this Purana Bhagavad Gita, Sarvasya Jagataha Prabhava. I am the cause of creation of this universe. Utpati Karanam Utpadanam Nimittam Cha. So what do you mean by Prabhava? Then he's explaining. I'm Nimitta Karana, efficient cause. I'm Upadana Karana, material cause. cha stiti nasadi cha. Then, so for example, there's something is created, then it has to continue, isn't it? Sustenance, stiti, that also they owe to me. Nasadi, they also fall after some time. There's a flower which blooms in the morning, it falls down, it dries and falls in the evening. Cha sarvam matta eva pravartate bhavati. They all happen because of me. Their birth, sustenance, growth, maturity, degeneration, and fall. Everything owes to me. Maya eva antaryamina. Why so? Because I'm antaryami. I'm in everything. I'm everywhere. I'm all pervading. Sarva vyapaka. Sarvajnana. And I know everything, how everything. Sarva saktina. And I have all the powers. I'm omnipotent as well. Preryamanam. So I am the preraka. I am the mover and shaker of everything. Whatever moves and shakes, whatever trembles and falls, whatever rises or falls, what is the main factor behind its me? Swaswa maryada anatikramya sarvam jagat pravartate. So everything has their own limits, their own brief, their own dharma. What they can do. The water will flow and reach the ocean, then it will dry up, go to the skies, and fall again. That is what its own maryada. The water cannot, it can turn into ice, but it cannot become a tree on its own. It can support the trees. So, maryadam anatikramya sarvam jagat pravartate. Everything in the world, depending on the laws of nature, again, my creation, it manifests and it sort of continues for a while, it falls and transforms itself into something else. Cheshtate itiva. And then they try. Ityevam matva buddha. Those who know me, the vivekena, avagata tattva bhavena. So they know that tattva. By knowing this, they meditate on me. Paramartha tattva grahana rupena. And they know my ultimate nature. That I am not involved in anything. I'm not connected with anything. These are projections on me, out of me, melt into me. Premna, out of love, but they are not scared of me. Like, for example, in the Abrahamic religions, they have a lot of fear, isn't it? God will punish you. He can be very punishing. But here, we are a little more liberal because God is all loving. And He is also saying that I'm nowhere to punish or forgive you. It's all in your karma. This is the secret. Take this chart. This is what you have done so far. You want to change your destiny. You have to do it. I'm always there to help you. That is what Bhagavan says here. So it's a little different. Samanvitaha santo mam bhajante. They meditate on me like that. So let's look at how Shankaracharya sort of says nothing. This is Madhusudana. We finished Aham Param Brahma Vasudevakyam. That we have already done, isn't it? So bhajante Vasuprabhava उत्पत्ति मत्त एव स्थितिनाश क्रिया फलो उपभोग लक्षणम kriya and follow upabhoga. People do something, there is something, like for example, you appear for a job and you get that job and then you enjoy the benefits. All this is happening. Vikriya rupam. These are the changing manifestations. Sarvam jagat pravartate. So you plant a seed, it becomes a sapling, then there's a tree, and then it becomes old, and then degenerates and falls, everything, you know. इति एवं मत्वा भजन्ते सेवन्ते मां बुधाः अवगत परमार्थ तत्त्वाः. Those who know the paramartha tattva, that I am at the root of all this. So bhava samanvitaः bhava bhavana paramartha tattva avinivesah tena samanvitaः sanyukta ityarthah. So that paramartha tattva, this is what is Vasudeva. That understanding they have, and then that sort of attachment to that ultimate truth, that firmly, avinivas is another word we had heard, fear of death, isn't it? Here he's saying they're fully established in that understanding that I alone am true. Everything is a manifestation, is a vikar out of me, and then they get connected with me, and then so there are different commentators, and we can go on, but there is nothing fundamentally new. More or less, they will repeat the same thing. So, and then the verse number 9 comes. How do they meditate? What do they do? It's a beautiful, and I would suggest you try to remember this. So in the next verse, he's saying, Matchita Madgata Prana bodhayantah parasparam kathayantah samam nityam tushyanti cha ramanti cha. These people are very happy. They're connected with me. What do? Mat chitta, their mind is firmly established in me. They are talking about more or less maybe grihasthas, but mostly sarvakarma sannyasis. Matchittaha, their mind is fully established in Matgat pranaha. And then they are karmendriyas also. Where do they go? They will do some tirthatana, or they will study or do yoga and bodhayantaha, and they talk to each other about what? God and sadhana and stuff like that. Parasparam, all these peer learning. This particular sloka is, was referred to by, I read somewhere that what is peer learning in Indian tradition? There's a lot of peer learning in our tradition as well, but in this, these are the references. Kathayantascha mam nityam, they are also talking about me, my lila, my srishti. Nityam tushyanti, they become happy, contented. Raman teacher, and they are also happy. They do some kirtan, right? They do like we are doing satsanga. So he's mentioning all that, and just let's look at how Shankaracharya explains it. Machitaha, mai chittam yesamte machitaha, whose mind is established in me. Madgat pranaha, mam gataha praptaha chakshuradaya pranaha yesamte madgata pranaha. So, mai upasangrita karanaha ityarthaha. So they have withdrawn their karmendriyas. I'm not saying they will not do physical exercise, they'll not take a bath or not do a job, or they are not going to do. But here they're talking about more serious sadhakas. So even their jnana indriyas and karma indriyas, whatever these devotees have, they are all focusing on me. Athava madgat pranaha mat gata jivanaha ityata. So they sort of know me, they have surrendered themselves to me, they have a saranagati bhava, they could have a family and do everything, but they are remaining surrendered to this truth about who am I, bodhayantaha avagamayantaha. So having known this, and they discuss it amongst each other, parasmaram anyonyam. So there are two, three devotees, instead of talking about cricket or Olympics or anything else, they talk about me. Kathayantasya Jnanavala dharmaihi vishistam mam. So because why is he mentioning all that? Because they are reinforcing their ability to keep themselves motivated. So sometimes this satsang and all, you can say it's all useless. I can read it in the book. But this satsang has its own benefit, because there are three, four people you sit and do. So so for example, there is this famous word about the head of the Ramakrishna mission in Delhi. So he has this magical skill to go to a grihastha and say, let's do a satsanga on a weekend or maybe once in a month. And then he very rapidly expands and recruits the people and locals. And then he sort of tries to help them do something on their own. And he comes out of it. And there are a lot of such people. And more of these people are there in the Vaishnava parampara. They will always do a Bhagavata, get together once in a month or twice in a month. These are really important. So he's saying what? Madgata pranaha, Gata jivanaha ityat bodhayantaha avayantaha parasparam anyonyam kathayantascha jnanavala viryadi dharmaihi vishishtam mam. So they know me as jnana, having sakti, and virya is sakti, adi dharmaihi vishishtam mam. So this is sopadika brahma upasana. Sankirtana. Tushyanti cha paritosham upayanti cha ramanti cha ratim cha prapnuvati priya sangatya eva. By being people who are also spiritual, they have this santoshti, happiness, contentment. They are doing something spiritual, and they also sort of also have this prakti rupa happiness. I'm just reminded of an experience. I was on Bangalore, and that was a Snana Purnima, Deva Snana Purnima. So I googled and I found there is a Krishna temple nearby. So I did a lot of hard work to walk through, and it's a strange place. And I walked there, and it was in somebody's building. They had a small Jagannath temple there, and I found there was so much of happiness. There were a few Bengali speaking and some North Indians that gathered there, and they were doing Snana Purnima. They were all families sitting and doing it, and all quiet, doing some Sankirtana. But they were extremely happy. No arrangements for security or anything. It was raining, it was overcast sky. But if you go and sit there, And it went on. I was there for half an hour, but you have a wonderful feeling, you know, as if they have come to meet somebody really a darling of their families, of their hearts. So that kind of thing, Ramanti cha Ratim cha Papnavati, they experience real love. Priya Sangatya eva ye yathoktehi prakarehi bhajanti mam bhaktya santaha. So they kind of meditate on me. That is what he's mentioning. Okay. Mai Bhagavati Chittam Yesante Machitaha, this is Madhusudana, Tatha Madgata, Mam Praptaha, Prana Chakyuradaya, Yesamte Madgata Pranaha, Mada Bhajana Nimitta Chakyuradi Vyaparaha. So they have got eyes and ears and everything, but they're using it for Ishvara Arapana, for connecting with me. Mai Upasangrata Sarvakarana Eva. So all these Indriyas they have, they try to use them to connect with me. Okay. Athava Madgat Pranaha Mat Jananartha Jivana. Mad Bhajanartha Jivana. So, like the Vaishnavas, so they say that we are Sevakas of Lord Krishna, He is the Bhokta, we are all Sevakas, and therefore we should live our life for Him. Mad Bhajana Anatirakta Prayojana Shunya Jivana. Other than remembering me, so whatever I do is Sivarpanam, as they say that Mama Radhanam. So, whatever I'm eating, you all do Shivarpanam. Similarly, they have Ananya, Atirikta Prayojana Shunya Jivana. Their life doesn't have anything other than surrender to me. Iti Yavat Vidvat Goshtishu, and all the wise men amongst them. Paraswara Anyonyam. So they have discussion about me. Shruti Vihi Yukti Vishcha. So they'll say, okay, this is from this book. There is a bit of Purana Charcha or Sastra Charcha. Yukti Vihi, and also analysis, some Yukti, some challenging each other. Mama Eva Bodhayantaha. We have discussed that earlier, that how for Sanka Nibriti you will do what is Anukula, your whatever is your Satya, Upanishad Satya, Anukula Yukti Anveshana. You will find reasons to strengthen your belief. And then whatever creates doubt, you try to remove it by reading and becoming a good intellectual. That is what theology is all about. Bodhayantaha tattva bubhussukataya. Tattva bhuvutsu kathaya. So they will have this katha. What kind of thing? Tattva bhuvutsu. Desire to know. What is that Paramatma Tatha? So Sishyabhyascha. And then, so far, their own disciples are concerned. Like, for example, in Vaishnava, you have Karuna. So you have compassion. Somebody is asking a question, you must answer it. So, Mav eva kathayantaha upadisantasya. So they will do some upadesha about me only, out of compassion, even to the less educated sannyasis or grihasthas. So they want to spread the good news. My Bittarpanam tatha bahyakarnarpanam tatha jivanarpanam eva samananam anyonyam madbodhanam so nyunebhyascha mad upadesanam ityeva rupam yan madbhajanam tena eva tushyanti cha. So what he's saying is maybe they donate some money. That is again for my purpose. Bahya karanarpanam, chakyu, eyes, whatever they do it, that's again for my sadhana and the okay. And then what he's saying that the Jivanarpanam, they also surrender their life for my purpose. And then among equals, if there is somebody who is as good as you in Shastra Chacha, you try to pick up a discussion, not a fight. Anyonyam madbodhanam. So nyunebhyasya mad upadesanam. So you find somebody who is not good in Shastra, then you do advise, upadesa. Don't have arguments because that fellow will not understand it. Ityeva rupam yan madbhajanam. The people whose bhajana is like this, who are meditating on me like this, they never tushyanti. They are benefited, they're content only by this particular act. Etavata eva labdha sarvartha vayam. They think, ha hamara itne se hi sab ho gaya. They're happy. After a bit of satsanga and they're very quiet, they're very happy. Sarvartha alam anyena labdhabdyena. What else to look for? Ityevam pratyaya rupam santosam prapnuvanti. So they get that content. What is it like? No, I have had enough. You want, if you like, if you find a sannyasi or anything, a lot of the sannyasis, they will come to bhandaras for viksha, but if you give them money, dakshina, they'll refuse. They'll just have their food and walk off. And they, whatever you push in their hands, they will give it to others. And I've seen quite a few of them. They are real great sannyasis. Tena santoshena ramanti. So they have that happiness and ramante. They rejoice. Priya sangamena eva uttamam sukham anubhavanti cha. So they have that great happiness by meditating. I mean, Taduktam Patanjalina Santosat Anuttamaha Sukhalavaha. There is no happiness which is greater than contentment. That is what? Controlling your mind, not craving after anything. Iti Uktam Cha Purane Jascha Kama Sukham Loke Jascha Divyam Mahatsukam Tusnakhya Sukhasyete Nahar Narhatah Shodasim Kalam. So Trishnakhya actually, limiting your craving, that is the mother of all happiness. That's what I'm saying. And whatever Kama Sukha and Divya Mahatsukam, whatever you are saying, everything is inferior to having what Gandhi said, temperance. What he call voluntary limiting of your desires. Because you cannot have everything, because that is what is creating an environmental crisis or ecological disaster. I've crossed the time. We stop here and you can ask any questions you have, or we can do this answer myself.